Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hit and Hustle from IrishSportsDaily.com. I'm your host, Greg Flamong, and with me, as always, is Jamie Uwayama, Mr. Jamie University. It is Tuesday, July 1st. It's Canada Day. Happy Canada Day to my Canadian friend, Mr. Uwayama. What kind of day is this for you, Jamie? Are you all fired up?
I don't really care.
Do they do fireworks and stuff?
Yeah, they do it. Not as insane as America does with their stuff, where there's less people blowing themselves up.
Yeah.
You know, but they do have big, like the city will Toronto will have a big fireworks thing, and like every kind of major city will have stuff like that. But there's less of like, hey, we're going to the neighborhood and we're going to maybe possibly burn each other's eyebrows off or anything like that.
All right. Well, look, happy Canada Day to you. We're going to celebrate that by having a mailbag show with questions from Irish Sports Daily subscribers. So that's going to be the bulk of the show. We'll have some updates at the beginning as well. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you like what you hear today, please hit that like. Please hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell so whenever it is we go live. Links to the podcast in the description below. As always, the show is brought to you by ESQ Clothing, founded by Notre Dame alum Ge Wang. You've seen ESQ and all your favorite Notre Dame players and coaches. With over a decade of making the best custom clothing available, ESQ will help you look and feel your best in 2025, from a perfect fitting suit or sport coat, shirt, or bomber jacket, or the perfect tuxedo for wedding season. Check out Ge's amazing work at esqclothing.com. Book an appointment to upgrade your wardrobe today. Mention ISD and get 10% off your entire purchase. That's esqclothing.com. Jamie, since we last recorded a Hit and Hustle in Premer. I'm not sure how to say it.
I think it's Premer.
I've heard multiple. They got it in the release. Hayes Fawcett. Put in the
phonetics.
Yeah. Let me know how to say the last name. This happens all the time with these recruits. Top 50 player. You said he's going to be in your ISD Fab 50 when it comes out. There's a question about that later. We'll get to that. You and Mike covered it extensively on Power Hour. We don't have to get into it, too in depth today. If you want to check out Power Hour, that's on our YouTube. Irish Sports Daily YouTube page. Check us out there. He's a pretty elite prospect. I mean, it was a pretty big surprise. Crystal ball is coming in the night before, even that morning of, and then it flips, right? Which is, I don't want to say a cautionary tale, but something to keep in mind when we've been talking about all the recruits that are kind of projected that we think Notre Dame is going to land. Things change very quickly in recruiting, so you just got to keep your mind on that. This is a big-time get for Notre Dame, Jamie. You compared him to a little bit of Michael Mayer and a little bit of Eli Raridan. Would take. That's good for the Notre Dame class. Just real quick on Ian Premer here. What's Notre Dame getting?
Rajon just mentioned it's against weak competition. Yeah, it is. I mean, he doesn't play in a state that's whatever. And the thing is when you're looking at kids like this, at any kid, you always have to look, how much do they dominate? Because if they're not dominating against that competition, then it's like move on to the next guy, right? Do they dominate, and what are the traits? That's what matters. Like the traits are what matters, because it's not a thing where you're looking at college football, just like anything, where if you're looking at the group of 5 kid versus a kid who's in the Power 4 or the SEC compared to the Big 12, I mean, it's going to be the traits that determine whether or not a guy gets, drafted in the first round or, drafted at all. Right. So, and that's the thing with Premer. He's got outstanding traits. I think, he's got a chance to be really, really special. He's going to get a lot bigger. He's going to add a lot of weight. He's an explosive athlete, just like above the rim player. So, I said that's like kind of like for the Notre Dame fans, like that kind of like the combination of that. But like Tyler Warren is the guy he was remind me of, to be honest, like just that same kind of like guy where you're watching him and you're like, I think this guy might be the best athlete on the field. Like and you're just like at that size where you see him do things, on the field where who's the kid that went to Michigan? Sorry, I totally forgot his name.
Matt Ludwig.
At Ludwig, right? He's like a bigger, I would say, better version of that. And we were big fans of Matt Ludwig, right? So,
yes,
another guy who plays against really crappy competition, but he's a Greek athlete, right? Anyone go watch? I ask anyone to go check out Premer's basketball highlights. Like he can play college basketball. He can play for Notre Dame. Like he might be better than a lot of guys on Notre Dame's basketball team. So I think he's a guy that people should be really, really excited about.
Yep. We're going to be in the ISD Fab 50. So that's really, really good get for Notre Dame and at a position that they historically do very, very well in, obviously at tight end. Ellis McGaskey commits to Notre Dame yesterday. He's a 2027 linebacker prospect from Williamson High School in Alabama. Listen, I like his tape. You like his tape. I feel very good about him. It's hard for me to get like truly excited about a 2027 prospect because it's so far away. You know, like if we're here a year from now talking about him still being in the class or whatever it might be, and we don't have any reason to think that he won't be, but just there's a long time to go here. You guys again talked about him yesterday when it looked like he was going to be committing to Notre Dame. He's a really good prospect. I encourage everyone to go check out Power Hour from yesterday. Mike and Jamie go really in depth. I put up some tape on him. It's really, really good stuff. So Notre Dame is off the mark aside from the long snapper that they got for 2027. So that's something to monitor. All right, let's get into the mailbag show, Jamie. Let's do it. What everyone is here for. I got a new graphic for that, Jamie. I'm very excited about it. I got the ESQ on top as well.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. You got to elevate, right? You know what I'm saying? All right, first question, JP Doc 31. How much do current players typically pay attention to recruiting wins and losses? Does a heater like Notre Dame is on now have much direct impact or offer the current team momentum as they move the summer into the season? And kind of talks about how positive media reporting is good for the program. On a similar topic, what sort of role credit do current players tend to play in recruitment? What sort of direction from the coaching staff recruitment team do they receive to support their efforts?
I mean, I don't think the players are affected at all by, what's going on in recruiting or whatever. Like there might be like a very select few guys who are like kind of following it more and maybe care a little bit more. But it's not going to boost anyone in terms of like how they feel. I would say overall vibes of the program where like guys are going to come to work happy when like I'm talking about coaching staff and all that, when things are going good. And that's always a good thing, right? So, when everybody's kind of pulling their weight, which pretty much has been the case with like all of the position groups in recruiting this year, that's, no one is getting side-eyed because they didn't land who they were supposed to land because they're kind of finishing the class, the way that they wanted to. They're landing the guys they want to. So I think in that way, in that kind of momentum can kind of carry in terms of just like people feeling good and feeling great going into camp and all that. And then obviously when you're in a position where you're not worrying about 2026 as much, you can focus in on the season and not really kind of worry about that as much. Obviously there's still other stuff. The current players, I think a ton of credit. Those guys, really deserve a ton of credit. And I wanted to just highlight, this was something that when Gregory Patrick, who's a, Notre Dame O-line commit in this class, when he talked about, this was a quote from a story Christian did on him. And it's Emil Wagner talking about, Coach Rudolph. So also the tough love that he has for the guys during practice, Patrick added. Emil Wagner made a good statement. I was talking to him. A lot of guys play for coaches for two reasons, either out of fear or out of love. And he was talking about how much he plays for Coach Rudolph out of love for him because he knows that Coach Rudolph really cares about him. It's pretty cool hearing him talk about how tough Coach Rudolph is, but he also loves and is getting something out of it. So it was pretty cool. I think that's the kind of thing, that kind of stuff communicated from the players to another recruit, that kind of stuff is invaluable because you can have a good relationship with a coach, but when a player tells you, hey, this is exactly how it is with that coach, this guy actually really cares. Because a lot of those guys too, they have a really hard. Those players have a hard time lying when things aren't going good, right? Like they're not pumping guys up if they like them, right? So if they like and that goes back to kind of like the vibes and whatever. If they really like what's going on, and obviously, winning last year kind of builds everything and builds up everyone's confidence in what's going on and the development and stuff. But you're just kind of explaining that culture to the recruits and just kind of communicating that. And it does make a difference.
Yeah. I think for the overall class, right? Like when they're not on campus or whatever, like I don't think the current players follow it really. And the reason I don't think that is because I talked to Troy Pride a couple of times on this show, talked to Sean Crawford a couple of times on the show. Like they both said, we don't really pay attention to it. Like if you're on campus, like you said, if they're on campus and they, they're asking questions or whatever, and the players have questions, then they'll answer the questions. As far as, who they're landing and who not, they do not care. It means nothing to them. Like these are their words, not mine. Doesn't matter to me. The team is the team. Once you're at Notre Dame, you don't like the recruiting stuff is over for them in terms of like they follow it, right? They follow their own class and who they're going to be playing with. After that, it's over with. But to your point, like it's a little bit different now too, because I don't know that there's actually official, like there's not like hosts anymore. I don't know that they do that. I haven't heard
I don't think they do that.
Long time. Yeah, I don't think they do that in a really long time. So that kind of helps.
Because those guys used to get money.
Yeah.
Used to get like, hey, here's whatever amount of bucks to you go take this guy out for pizza or whatever or what it was. And it's totally different now.
Yeah.
It's way different now.
Yeah. All right. Next question from CFB Hertz. Have there been any updates regarding the new athletic facility? Has it been a big selling point to 2026 recruits who should be able to use it right away? I know it's coming along right there. They're all seeing it when they come to campus because it's being built right there. And I know it's kind of in those stages where you can kind of see what it's going to look like. Have you heard anything on this topic, Jamie?
I haven't heard any updates in terms of anything of like, oh, it'll be exactly ready this date or anything like that. But, obviously I was there in the fall, you go back in the spring, and then I'm back there for Invasion, and you see like the work has been done, and it's really like you see more than the bones now. Like is what I'll say. Like it's they get it. That's one thing I'll say about Notre Dame when they do construction, because obviously Notre Dame doesn't start building anything until they have the money for it, right? Like that's one of their rules is like we need to have all this thing paid for, and they obviously had that money raised, and it goes fast. It goes really, really fast. And from the outside, it looks good. So I'm excited to see it again, in about a month here when I go back up again. But I'm sure they put a presentation and show the guys exactly what it's going to look like, because, that is going to be a selling point.
And like, it really comes at a really good time. This phrase proof of concept has really been, we've mentioned it a lot. The reason for that is because you have proofs of concept with the team. They just went 14-2. They just went to the title game. And now this facility is being built where it's like elevation, like they're elevating the program. And I think it really goes in line with what Marcus Freeman talks about all the time. It's one thing to, I think Notre Dame used to be selling players on, hey, we need you to get to this point, And I think in a way they're already kind of at that point, and now they're building facilities on top of that. Like it all just kind of goes together. Like you almost don't have to make the pitch because it's self-evident, right? And that's the best way. It's where you see this stuff being built. It's self-evident in a way that the players can just see it. They don't have to be sold on anything.
And just quick, because I think Eric Fasano was talking about how it's a silly rule for them to wait till everything's paid for before they start building. I think they changed it to that because they got burned before. Like I'm pretty sure that's what happened, where someone was supposed to cut a big check and then they didn't. And then all of a sudden we're like, well, we already got, then they had to scramble to get
Yeah.
other people to help to pay for it, or find other ways to pay for it.
Because then you're sitting there with a half-built building forever. I mean, that's how these things take a long time. You don't want that.
Yeah, and then I think I don't know if anyone has followed what's going on with USC, because they're all hyping up their new facility that's being built. Well, I just read that they they haven't paid for it, and they are need the money. So, and if they don't get that money, they're going to have to cut other stuff, and that will cost them, I don't know, in other ways. So you don't want that to happen. So it might, I get it. I get what Eric's saying, that it sounds like silly, like you should just do it. But I think it's from experience. That's why they're doing it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're monitoring the USC situation. There's some stuff brewing under the water that might be coming up to the surface pretty quickly here. Rockney 75. Any updates on 2027 quarterback recruiting other than the offers that went out with Peyton Houston and Chetty Gerard? I don't know that there's any updates there. Look, that they're going to recruit those guys, and that's the thing. Do you have anything on this?
No, just listen to our podcast with Christian last week, and he talks about it there too. So you can check that out. That's probably the latest stuff on it. There's nothing else new after that since then.
Yeah, there's a lot to come on 2027 recruiting. So check out what Christian said, and then stay tuned in to irishbushdaily.com. There's going to be a ton of updates there. All right, the Salty Jazz 14. Last year, you guys did a draft of sorts where you pick guys based on NFL draft potential. Would love you guys to repeat that exercise this year. So my question is, who are your top 5-ish picks each for guys currently on campus, no 2026? So assumed a weighted point system where a player, I don't know that we need to weight it, just because I don't know if we're going to keep track of this, but let's just so you can have the first pick. You will just go 1-2-1-2. We don't have to snake or anything like that. You take the first pick. Who would you have? It's who do you think is going to go highest? Who is on the current roster?
Bryce Young.
Bryce. See, it's funny. I didn't think you were going to take him. That's funny. I think that's absolutely correct. I think he's a defensive end. I think he's 6'8", whatever now. Defensive ends go very high in the draft. I'm so mad at you for that. All right. So
who do you think I was going to go with?
I thought you'd go with Jeremiah Love. I should have known better, though.
I mean, he's the
safest
pick because he's going to be a first-round pick next year.
Right. No, but it's like you're a D lineman. Of course, you're going for him. Next, you're going to pick Armel Mukum.
I think he's probably got the best chance of being a top 5 pick.
No, I agree.
Really, right? It could happen.
Yeah, 100%. All right. For my pick, I'm going to go Jeremiah Love. First reason stated. He'll probably be a first-round pick next year, and look, I like having that in the bag. All right, who do you want next?
Leonard Moore.
Okay.
I mean, I think when you play that good as a freshman, you're that long. Obviously, he's going to be a guy who tests a lot better than people think that he would have when he originally was recruited. So. I mean, he looks like a classic 3-and-out, very high pick guy to me.
Okay. I'm going to go with Charles Jagusa.
I mean, he would have been my next pick. I think that's a pretty obvious one, too. I'm going to go KVA as my next one because I think he's going to be a guy. I know linebackers, it's a little bit different, but because he can rush the passer and do some other things. I just have always been super duper high on him, and I think that I mean, I don't know, exactly if he's going to be a first-round pick, but I think he's going to be when he goes, he will be one of the top linebackers in his year, I think.
Okay. Malachi Fields for me.
That's another good one.
I think there's some real I think
some real buzz right now.
Value. There's buzz. He's got the height. This could be like a Keon Coleman situation. We're monitoring. I think there's something there. I think there's stuff underneath the surface that's going to come up once fall camp starts. Because I think he's got that. I think he's a physical presence, and I think he's kind of got that man, kind of like I'm contract year kind of thing. And I think he has the ability for it. So I think that's interesting. We both have 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 more. Go.
I'm going to go Boubacar. I think if he's got to come back healthy, but I think that if he's healthy and he's the same guy, and I think he's going to be obviously a better version of the guy that he was last year. And anyone who's actually like kind of really seen him in person knows that he just has some specialness about him in terms of rushing the passer. So he'd be my guy.
Adon Schuler for me.
Ooh, Adon Schuler. Okay.
Yeah. I think so. If we were doing points system, I don't think he has that upside, but like I think 3rd round is kind of his floor ish. We'll see. I do think that. Like I think he's a good football player. I'm concerned about the testing, but I think he's going to put enough on tape where it's like, oh, we need to take him. So that's where I'm at.
That's funny because my next pick is Tay Johnson.
Let's go.
Tay Johnson. I think Tay Johnson it's like I'm very high on what I've seen with Tay Johnson. Obviously, I mean, the guy might not even start this year. I don't know, right?
Yeah,
like it's there. I just think there's so much meat on the bone. Like this guy is going to get way, way better. And he's a really good athlete, and I'm excited about his potential.
Eli Raridan is my last.
Another good pick.
Yeah. Is this starting Notre Dame tight end? Of course he's getting drafted, Jamie. He's got please stay healthy. Stay healthy.
Okay. Wait, how many is that?
I think that's 5.
Okay.
You can do 6 if you want.
No, well, you know what? I was just gonna say there's so many guys, and I literally listed like no joke, 40 guys that I was like, because if you go through all the way to freshmen and all that kind of stuff, and so much of his projection, right? So much of his projection. So many of these guys haven't really played that much. So it's easy to say Gerby Lambert, but it's like, well, he might not start this year. So it's like we still have to, slow our roll with guys like him and Will Black and all that, but they definitely have a chance to be high picks like Chris Burgess, Madden Ferrermo. Yeah. Like, I mean, Jane Greathouse is of a guy. He is. I don't know how high he's going to be picked. We'll see, depending on his season and all that, and maybe the next couple seasons, right? But like, there's just a lot. There's so many guys. I mean, CJ Carr, right? Like, Kenny Minchie. Like, we'll see. But like, I just really think that there's just a whole bunch of guys that I'm like really think that like could go extremely high, and I mean, it's an exciting. It just kind of reminds everybody that it's an exciting time to be a Notre Dame fan because there's a lot of guys.
There are a couple guys like Dallas Golden is one. I kind of wanted to take James Flanagan too because there's kind of like buzz about him as well, just like how ready he is. So that's interesting. But like you said, a lot of good options to pick from. Xer ND 1994. Assuming Notre Dame finishes this class the way we expect, how does it compare to the 1990 class? Call me biased. I was a freshman in 1990. Those players were my classmates. I still think it's the best recruiting class ever at Notre Dame. Jamie, I think you did some research on the 90 class. This is very hard to do because we know how the 90 class finished. Who knows what people thought at the time? It's a very different era, for one. So go into the 1990 class.
So, I mean, obviously it was a loaded class. If you look at this, this is like what Alabama and Georgia, it's that kind of class. 5 first-round picks, 5, right? Like, Bettis, Burris, Aaron Taylor, Bryant Young, Tom Carter, right? Like it was loaded. There was 12 guys picked, 12 total. Like, it's pretty nuts, right?
I mean, obviously, Oliver Gibson, Jim Flanagan, rest in peace, Oliver Gibson.
Rest in peace, Oliver Gibson. Yeah, very sad to hear that.
He had a much better pro career than I remember. He was a very good player for Notre Dame. He played nose tackle. He was a very good player. So rest in peace to him. Kevin McDougal was in the class. I mean, Kevin
McDougal not drafted, but I mean, obviously a very important player.
John Covington.
Greg
Lane. I mean, Greg Lane in the corner. Like, they just incredible class.
Pete Bursich,
Lake Dawson,
Jim Flanagan, Tim Ruddy.
I said him, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Tim Ruddy. I mean, oh my god.
Tim Ruddy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a loaded class. It was loaded. So do I think this class is going to have 5 first-round picks? It's asking a lot. So I don't know, but hey, let it play out. And
let's do a bonus question. If you knew ahead of time that this class would have 5 first-round picks, who would they be?
Ooh, I mean, I would say.
I mean, I think it's very easy to say like Dunham.
I mean, Dunham,
like
Premer, Joey O'Brien, Corey Adams.
Who's the 5th?
Maybe like Makio or Tom or Ewatade.
One alignment, yeah.
Frizel. Like there's a lot of guys that I think like. I think one of the things that the staff should be applauded for is there's so many guys that I think with like sky high ceilings.
I think Pouncey is one.
That's another one. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of where you could get a comparison, right? Where like you could see it, right? Like you could see it happening, and you could see where. No, I don't want to say 5 first-round picks, but where they could eventually, like, they have multiple first round, or like, I mean, day 2, like one in first day, second day, 1 through 3 round picks. Like you can kind of see where that would come from, where it's like if they just develop the way we think that they might, you know, that's kind of where that comparison can come from. So. It's obviously
Greg Wasserman always this is your new identity, man. He's always coming in here, just bringing up the transfer portal. Like these guys haven't even signed yet. He's like talking about the 1990. He's like, there's can't be looking at the class because all these guys can transfer. It's like, just relax. Let's enjoy the moment, Greg.
I don't think they're going to lose a first round pick to the portal.
If a guy's going to be a first-round pick, he's probably staying at Notre Dame.
Yeah, like they haven't lost anyone like that. Like they haven't lost like Ben Morrison or Leonard Moore or Jeremiah Love, right? Like if you're good, you're playing at Notre Dame. So far, it could happen, but I don't know. They've been very good at player retention. MRNK, next question. For 27 recruiting, are there any recruits that seem especially interested in Notre Dame at this point? Obviously, a long way to go, and anything can happen. Those are the family connections. Julius Jones Jr., who just kind of had a really good 7-on-7. Seneca Driver, Flanagan, Parks, and Tui Halamaka among those who are characterized with a higher interest.
I mean, this would be a way better question for Matt or Christian in terms of, what those guys know in terms of overall with the recruiting picture. But I mean, I'll just say this, like, these are the guys who were just on campus, wide receiver Quentin Burrell, they had a bunch of other tight ends other than Seneca Driver. Jackson Dollar was another one who was a stud. Titus Hawk, he was another 4-star kid who was on campus for that. O-lineman Cameron Wagner is the guy with the offer who was on here for Invasion. Devin Robertson, Jeremiah Williams, man, stud from California, defensive tackle. Chaz Gray, who's a defensive end from New Jersey, kind of like a hybrid edge guy from New Jersey. Cooper Whidden, Jason Wynn's kid. Yeah. And I heard that Notre Dame's got a legit shot at him.
I think anytime you have at this point, anytime you have a former player's son on campus, you got to feel like Notre Dame's got a good shot there, just because that's the trend, right? Like, I mean, there's no other way to see it. Like, they are trending for former player, the children of former players. If they visit Notre Dame, there's interest there. We're something to really keep an eye on.
Yeah, and he is a stud. He's a big time stud. So, looks very much like his dad. Obviously smaller because he's not, a tight end, but he's totally looks like his dad, like a mini me of his dad.
Yeah. Chris Wilwork is asking, when does training camp start? We don't know. That stuff is kind of always held under lock and key for whatever reason. End
of July, beginning of August.
Yeah, I mean, you can see when the first game is, and then just kind of work backwards from there. That's usually how it is. All right. Next question from let's go. Land Carp. Is there a play you think could have changed the course of a game and or season? So I guess it could be. We don't have to go too far back, but it's because for him it's the missed bomb from Buckner to Lindsey and the loss to Marshall. This was right before halftime. Not only does it give the Irish the lead at halftime, gives them confidence that they're going to pull it out. Marshall has to back off and respect the over-the-top ball, which changes the game. Do you think that 22 team was ever finishing better than 8-4?
No, probably not.
I think that's like a clear 8-4 team. You know,
I think that's one of the reasons BK got out.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely would have changed that game, probably, but I don't know about this season at large. Like, do they still beat Clemson? I don't know. You know, maybe, right? But is there anything that sticks out to you? Maybe not this season specifically, or 22 specifically, but any other seasons? Or
yeah, and I would say I don't know if I agree with his statement about that Marshall game, because I think that was a classic game where they got outcoached. Like Reese got outcoached bad by their DC. And also their defense ended up being way better than anyone thought. It ended up being like a top 15 defense in DF plus. And I think they thought it was one of those games like, well, we'll work on the passing game. And it's just like, work on winning. And they just made a mistake of how they were going to approach it and all that. But I mean, the one that I don't even think there's any other one that could stand out anymore in, like, say, the last 20 years, other than the Corey Robinson offensive pass interference call against Florida State. Like, if they go and they win that game against the defending national champion, BK had never won a game like that. The Oklahoma game was not that same game. I understand that was a big win on the road, but that was a different type of win for Notre Dame to win that game. And then obviously, like, it fell apart after that. Injuries played a part in it. But I bet the whole stuff with like Everett Golson's confidence and all that, maybe Everett Golson goes and finishes the season. They probably win at least 10 games. Everett Golson's probably still the quarterback, probably the next guy. Maybe Malik Sear, transfers after that year. There was a whole bunch of what ifs if they would have won that game. And if you think about that game too, they ended off that season in a good way in terms of how they beat LSU in the bowl game. And in a lot of ways, I think partially established their identity for the next season, which I think helped. But I can't think of just one play where I'm like, man, that really just, I think it maybe it was supposed to happen that way because they end up doing the reboot a couple years later and all that. But it was a huge call to have that go against them.
That was, in my opinion, the best game of the Kelly era, period. That team played better on that day than any other team of his played. Like they were on the road, defending national champions, Heisman Trophy quarterback, and they took it to him. I mean, Florida State was chasing for most of the game. Then Florida State came back, and then Notre Dame came back again, and then Florida State came back, and Everett Golson, he made plays on that last drive that really should go down in like the annals of Notre Dame football history. And I am forever triggered by this. Forever. Like, we went to a party, like a group party with my wife's friends, like high school friends. And one of the husbands is a football guy. He grew up in Virginia, and he's like an offensive coordinator out here for one of the high schools. Big football guy, and he's like, it's a clear offensive PI. And we got into a literal argument about this. Like, we were yelling. I was a bit unhinged. I was a bit deranged about that. To me, I think it is one of the worst adjudications of the rules that I can recall from a Notre Dame perspective. It drives me insane. They didn't know. Like, if you go back and read after the game, they couldn't figure out who the penalty was actually called on. They didn't know what the penalty was for. The ref didn't understand that the coverage, the player who was covering Corey Robinson is never touched on the play. Never touched on the play. They called it. The penalty was ultimately called on Will Fuller. You can tell from the video, because as soon as the Will Fuller makes his cut inside, the corner for Ronald Darby, the corner for Florida State, you can tell him
former Andy commit.
Former Andy commit. The corner for him, Darby jumps inside because they're in man coverage, and Fuller just kind of takes him, right? He gets hands on Fuller, and Fuller takes him. And as soon as that contact happens, the flag comes out. The ref was looking for it. He had no idea what he was looking at. And then all the post hoc justifications that like 3 days later is when the official clarification came in on who the penalty was on. They had no clue. It is such an injustice. It drives me insane. And so I'm upset about that.
I think too, I think Notre Dame fans should be rightly upset about how that went, because if anyone has watched college football, or football in general, NFL, whatever, over the last, decade since then, you see that play call, almost that exact same play call executed just like that. And I've yet to see a flag. Never called. So
Clemson won a national title against Alabama.
Yes,
literally the same thing. Literally the same thing.
Yeah,
that
was a brutal call.
It's a disgrace and an embarrassment to the sport, and that was I'm upset. Anyway, mine is on the other way. I'm gonna go the other way with this, because I think people look at, like, mostly you come up with a situation where it's like it was beneficial, or like it would have. If the play had gone different, it would have benefited Notre Dame down the line. I'm going to go another way. I think in 2021, if Daquan Finn is running for the touchdown and goes down at the 1 and Toledo beats Notre Dame, I think that season completely goes off the rails. I think they lose again to Cincinnati, obviously. I bet you they find a way to lose to Virginia Tech. The win against Virginia Tech in 2021, you're down by 8 with 3 minutes left. Your benched quarterback now has to come back in because your other quarterback just threw like a pick 6 or whatever it is, or he had just thrown another interception. You lost the lead. You're down by 8. You need for Notre Dame to win the game in regulation in that situation is like so unlikely. So like I think losing to Toledo the way that they did, if they would have in that situation, if he goes down at the 1, I think he can field goal. I think it completely goes off the rails. I think Notre Dame is like 3-3 going into the bye. Buckner's the quarterback. Drac Cohn never plays another snap for Notre Dame ever again. Like, that is a play where the kid, I'm thinking as he runs it, please go into the end zone, because if he takes the knee, Notre Dame's going to lose on like a 20-yard field goal with no time on the clock. I think that's one that benefited Notre Dame, and I wonder how it would have gone. I mean, obviously, BK, you could say, would LSU have ponied up the money for BK like they did at that point, right? Would Marcus Freeman have been a viable option for Notre Dame at that point if they don't go 11-1, right? There's so much that could have happened if Notre Dame.
That is a good what if. That's a good pick. In that same vein too, I know whatever, we shouldn't spend too much, but I just want to mention, because that game right after the Michigan loss debacle in 2019, and they squeaked by Virginia Tech in a game. They were way better than Virginia Tech in that game, but they fumbled at the goal line. There was
They're
a bunch
about
of things.
to go up 21-7, and then instead it's 14-all. Yeah.
And, Ian Book did not have a good game, but he clutched up big time on the last drive. But, 4th and 10, 26-yard gain to Claypool. I mean, if that play doesn't go their way, I mean, Bill Dracovic might have started the next week. Like there was all this kind of stuff that could have happened, right? Like it was that was definitely a good what
It's
if.
funny. When I had him on the show, I asked him specifically, "Did you think that your career was on the line?" And he looked at me like, "No,
no, because he was like icing his veins kind of guy.
But like you could like that was his mind. Like you could see his mindset, like in the moment, like how these guys think. He was like,
well, that was the game. He shushed the crowd.
Right. Like
So,
he's just like he was like, no, of course not. Like that wouldn't have happened. Like he is just so the self-belief that he has, and obviously he needed is very evident all the time. It's very impressed by it. Very impressive person. All right, Irish one. 2 questions about last year. If Notre Dame had not lost to Northern Illinois, do you think that have changed how the season would have played out, either for the better or worse? Was Northern Illinois the most inconsequential loss that you got? I don't think it affected one thing beyond it made it more likely that they went out and won out because Marcus Freeman turned it into a rallying cry. I've never seen a situation where a loss like that was turned into like, actually, this is the best thing that happened for Notre Dame. That's a credit to Marcus Freeman for that. Like, do you agree with me on that? Do you kind of see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree with you there. I think they could have squeaked by and won the game, and it would have had the same kind of effect because it was like, frankly, it was just one of those things. They should have lost the game. So in that way, I don't know if it would have made that big of a difference if they had won, but certainly you can say if they came out and like blew out Northern Illinois, maybe it does a little bit different. Maybe they do drop one later on or something like, but I do think, what's kind of like what was inside the team and was always there. Yeah. So it was going to come out anyways, but it is another kind of what if.
Okay. Second question from him. Do you think there is any one player from last year who had a season-ending injury that had not gotten injured, Notre Dame might have won the championship game?
I mean, probably not. I don't think so. But if I had to choose one, it would have been Ben Morrison, just because of that game. If Ben Morrison is healthy and he's like elite corner Ben Morrison, like everybody knows, well, I think that's what they needed more than a pass rusher in that game. Not that, Botello or Boubacar or, Mills or healthier Cross couldn't have helped. It would have helped. But if you look at it, there was so much of that where the ball was just out so quick out of Howard's hands, all that. And they needed to win more. If you have Morrison, you could say, hey, we don't care. We'll play man all day. We'll still play man all day. Come at us, right? Because they can't do the same things when that's the case, right? So I don't think they would have, Ohio State would have had the same kind of success, but it's not. They still might not have won. I don't know if that would have made the difference because I do think just overall, Ohio State was a better team.
Yeah. Do you think they would have benched Gray for more eventually?
I think they probably would have.
Because I think the Morrison thing only matters if that's true.
Well, I think what would have happened is they would have played those 3 guys would have been the 3 guys that just played, and they would have just done it. But in that situation, for sure, in that 100% in that situation, they would have had Leonard Moore or Ben Morrison on Jeremiah. I think Ben Morrison would probably have been on Jeremiah Smith on that.
They shadow him the whole game.
I don't know about shadow him, but they would have. Because I think they would have felt good if Moore was on him too. But like I think in that one specific situation, there's no way that they're not having those 2 guys there.
I think it would have been interesting. Is just like a pure hypothetical if it was Morrison, Moore, Gray as your 3, and one of them plays in the slot as the nickel. That would have been interesting. I don't know who they would have picked, but like those are their best 3 cover guys. So that would have been an interesting thing. Obviously, we'll never know how that would have happened. Irish Nut, what do you guys think is the major reason for the difference in recruiting this season? Is it the fact that there is more of a collective effort, more than a one-man perspective that Chad had? Is it simply the exposure of the college football playoff run or the culture effect? I believe this blend works, but can it be sustainable?
I don't know. I think it's some of it. Some of the stuff with Chad is getting overblown now, where it's like, wow, what a difference, that with like Chad, like they still would have been, this class would have been very good with Chad. He's obviously doing a great job at USC. So I think in some ways it's been a little bit overblown, but I do think some of the tweaks to their approach has been a good thing. Like, not pressuring the commits and kind of being a bit more patient with it. I think ultimately probably helped them with a lot of these guys, they just landed. I think that was an important, or maybe they would have taken a guy early that, they wouldn't want to have now. Right. So in that say, but I think the main thing is just, here we go again, those proof of concept. I think that's what it is. It's Marcus Freeman. There is one thing, obviously people know that Marcus Freeman is a magnetic personality. He's a guy who's impressive, but it's one thing to be like, hey, this is what we're trying to do here, rather than this is what we've already done here, and this is what we're trying to do. And I think that makes all the difference when it comes to recruits, parents, all these things. Him being listed in the top 5 coaches and all that, being talked about in a way that, he's just garnered so much respect now, where, you beat Kirby Smart, you beat James. If they didn't beat James Franklin, maybe they don't win those, all those ones versus all those recruiting battles versus Penn State.
Yeah. I think it's like you said, it's everything. It's like Irish Nut said, it's everything. It's all in conjunction. I do think the thing that is different this year than previous years is like the category change that I talked about before. Like, I think recruits now see them as a tier 1 program.
Yeah.
Whereas in previous years, you could make an argument for it if you wanted to, but like in your heart, like, no, they're not on the level as Georgia or Oregon.
Yeah.
Penn State.
Maybe they lose those ones to Oregon. Yeah. All these, I think those are, 100%.
Yeah. You're just not there. And then you beat them. And it's like, they are in that category now in their minds. And it's not for us to argue about, because again, I think we've always had arguments that Notre Dame could be in that position, but for the players, either they are or they aren't. And I think we've seen now that they believe that they are because of the choices that we've seen them make. Vamos, Irish. All right. It's the off season for everything but recruiting. Surprise, you've been convoluted legal maneuvers. All starting athletes now have to play 2 sports. Otherwise, all collegiate sports are canceled. Brutal. You've got 22 starters on offense and defense, plus a kicker and punter for 24. I'm giving you 6 other sports that you must now split these 24 players to save all of college football. By extension, humanity itself. The splits must be even.
I love how he always puts the stakes. The stakes are always so high.
The civilization, it's Independence Day, Jamie. The aliens are coming down. They're going to take us apart. The eligible sports are basketball, soccer, baseball, 11s, rugby, hockey, and track and field. All right. So he listed all the players. It's too big to fit into this graphic. So, all right, CJ Carr. What sport are you giving to CJ Carr?
I mean, he was a basketball player. I mean, I don't know if he'd be good enough to play college basketball, but I guess guys just have to be on the team. It's not like they have to play.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd probably say basketball, I guess, for him. Maybe soccer. He feels like he'd be a good soccer player because he's just like good feet, good athlete, smart. That's where I'd probably put him. Most of these guys, I'd just put rugby, to be honest.
Yeah, I think CJ Carr, I'd give him baseball. We need baseball players. We have some, like Drake Bowen's going to be baseball.
Baseball.
There's someone else who played baseball. It was who was it? Either way, I'm gonna give CJ Carr. Jeremiah Love, he's gonna be a rugby player.
Or he
Malachi
can be
Fields,
track too. He could be track.
you like him for track?
Well, just because if we're just kind of splitting it up or whatever, he could be.
See, for
either
me,
or.
it's hard because like
I mean, I would probably take him rugby.
The linemen got to be the putters, the shot putters, right? So like Jagusaw, Wagner, their shot putters.
Wagner was a really good shot.
Yeah,
put guy in high school.
Yeah, like Onye, I need to be a shot putter. So anyway, so like Fields, Malachi Fields, he's going to be 11's rugby. Great House, we're playing soccer for Great House. Faison, we're playing soccer. Raritan's basketball, right? He's a basketball player already. What do you think for Bill? Strouth was a wrestler, no?
You know what? I don't remember if he's. I think Jagusaw was a wrestler. Was Strouth a wrestler too? I can't remember.
I feel like he was. I don't know. I feel like all these guys.
I mean, that's why I wish wrestling was on here because I would have picked a bunch of these guys for wrestling too. I mean,
is anyone playing hockey? Who's playing hockey?
Strouth might actually be a hockey guy because some of the guys in Wisconsin play hockey. So So that might be it. I know Dom Hulak, he's obviously not on this list, but he's a hockey player. Like there's a few guys that did play hockey. I don't know. I mean, straight up, I'm picking most of these guys to play rugby. Like it just what it is. It's the most sport that kind of makes the most sense of kind of like putting them together. Right. Yeah. And you can kind of move some guys here and there, but that's what
Rendell, obviously rugby.
He was a rugby guy, right?
Yeah, Noah Burnett, soccer,
got to be soccer.
Yeah. I think like Schuler, Christian Gray, Leonard Moore. Like I like them for baseball. It just seems like I don't know. They just seem like baseball.
Schuler, I think, would be an awesome rugby player. Okay, tell me this too. This is total thing. I mean, we don't need to spend too much time on this.
Yeah.
All respect. This, I first of all, I love these questions by Vamos Irish, but I think that I've always had the theory that if the U.S. trained the best football athletes in the world, you gave them 3 years to say, we're training you in rugby, teaching you all parts of the game. And they would just kick the crap out of every single country in the world, just because there's just like, how many of these guys got Adrian Peterson when he's in his prime doing that? And there's so many of those guys where you're just thinking of like, okay, Saquon Barkley, like please just try to tackle these guys over and over again. And there's just so many guys that would be, I mean, I know it's a different game. You can't just stick them in right away, although some guys might be able to, but I do think it would be, just it'd be an interesting experiment.
Well, I mean, someone like Tyreek Hill. I mean, it's just how do you tackle him? How do you get him on? I mean, he's a 10. Yeah. I think he's a 10-1 guy. I mean, that is really. I mean, he ran 10-1 like a couple weeks ago. I mean, I'm very impressed with that because that's hard to do. I mean, obviously they'd be great. They'd be very good at rugby. I mean, it lends itself, right? And plus, like the linebackers are basically like your big guys. The thing about rugby is like there's no kicker. You know what I mean? Like there's a kicker, but it's not like that's a field player for you. It's not like they sub in a guy to come kick for them. It's not how it works. All right. Keenan Knight, great questions, Irish One. You like great Irish One's questions. Who is one player from the past 25 years who, if was part of the 2024 team, would have gotten Notre Dame a win over Ohio State, any position or reason? So 25 years, we're going back to 2000.
I mean, I don't know if there is any one player, like I said.
What position do you think?
Well, to me, I thought of this. because there's this next question, which is same for the 2025 team. Who would you add? And I picked the exact same guy because I just got to admit, I think he's that dude. Golden Tate. Golden Tate. Because you know why? Golden Tate is the guy. Wish this guy got to play on better teams at Notre Dame because he's a big moment guy. He is a big moment guy. So he's a guy who's not afraid of anyone. Obviously won the Blitnikoff Award. The guy was the best receiver in college football. Just a dominant guy. Is a guy that, all of a sudden, hey, things aren't going good, takes a punt back to the house. Goes in, makes like an incredible play after the catch. Like he's doing that kind of stuff that Greathouse was doing first series on, like I just think he was that guy. And then that's what I think too, the same kind of thing where if you're looking for, they obviously have, some big time talent on offense, but to me, he's just would be that extra element of that guy. I thought about Michael Floyd too, as obviously he was a great player as well, because I think receiver would probably be the spot, that stands out the most to me. I mean, you could say like, there's a ton of guys. Justin Tuck is a pass rusher. We said Ben Morrison or whatever, right? Like, a lot of those guys, I think, would be obviously Kyle Hamilton, like, Jalen Smith. So many of these guys that you could pick, but I just think when in a game where I think even if you add one of those guys, you're still probably outmatched against Ohio State. You need somebody who's like just takes one moment and can change the game. And to me, if I think of one guy in the last 25 years, for me, it's Golden Tate.
I think for the first one, I think it's Stephon Tuitt.
It's another good pick.
Because they couldn't stop them. Like I think if Notre Dame, because the second half kind of showed me like they had ways to score. They could move the ball on this team, but they couldn't get a stop. They just needed one stop. They never stopped them. Like they fumbled once and they threw incomplete on third and whatever when the guy's wide open. It was a bad throw. Like they never stopped them. Like they needed to find a way to get a stop and they never could. And I think it needed to come on the D line. Like Howard Cross was hurt. Riley Mills was out, And so I just think they needed someone inside to make some kind of a play. For 2025, it's hard because I don't think like D-line, I don't look at it that way to ensure a return to the playoffs, right? Like,
I mean, Tuitt might actually, if I switched my pick, might be Tuitt for the 2025 for me too. Like, I think that's a good pick because I think they'll be fine at defensive tackle, but when we're talking about like game wrecker, he's the most game wreckery type that they've had in the last 25 years at defensive tackle, in my opinion. So, obviously this guy played end too. So, I think it kind of makes sense that would be, because if you're going to say what's missing on defense, it's that.
Yeah.
It's that. Okay. Eric Fasano, hold on. I just wanted to say, because he said Tate with Leonard throw to him, likely not the same as Clausen throw to him. Let's flip it the other way. Jimmy Clausen throwing to Floyd, Tate, Rudolph. Yeah, no wonder the guy threw for 25 touchdowns and whatever. Like, I could have thrown for 20 touchdowns with those guys. Like, Jimmy Clausen, I'm not saying he was a bad quarterback. He was fine. He was good. But like, put him with the receivers, Notre Dame's receivers last year, he's not putting up the same numbers. Most of those guys aren't putting up the same numbers. I think you could put in a list of different quarterbacks from the last, 30 years of Notre Dame football who would have thrived throwing to those guys.
I'm going to say, like, this is going to be a hot take, but like, look at the question. Confidently ensure a return to the playoffs. Okay. who would you add? I would add Riley Leonard.
Yeah. That's
They
good.
just went to the national title game with him. Now you have a better offensive line, you have a better receiving core, and you have your running backs the same. They're going like, what is the one question we have? The one question is like, who is the quarterback going to be? And they are green. Add Riley Leonard. You have no questions. It's like, yeah, if you were saying who would you add that like can win the national title, maybe I wouldn't take Riley Leonard in that instance, because if maybe they can't push the ball, right? Maybe they can't. But like, man, I would take Riley Leonard again, man. I think people just are too quick to throw like a guy. It's like, he couldn't do this thing, therefore no good. No. That was the best offense that Notre Dame has had in like decades. They were very, very good. So I would take that again. 100%. 100% I would take Riley Leonard again. And I would, but 100%, throw all the money I have at Notre Dame making the playoffs as Riley Leonard's the next quarterback. All right. Can we put to bed the worry about wide receiver this year? Greathouse, Fields, Faison, Pauling are all proven and diverse in type ability, and other wide receiver may emerge as well. Raritan's good pass catching 6'7" tight end. So basically the question is, can we put to bed the worry about wide receivers in 2025?
No, I don't think you can. And I get what he's saying. I think Notre Dame is going to be better at receiver and probably better than they have been in quite some time. But if we're just being honest and we're, not being, homers about it, then I think you have to look at it fairly and say that, well, Faison and Pauling both had issues with drops last year. So are those guys going to be, Pauling, to be fair to Pauling and Faison, they didn't the year before. So if they go back to previous year, then I think that's good. But we'll see what happens, because there's obviously been guys like Bo Collins had issues with drops his whole career. And that was one of the reasons why Bo Collins never emerged and never became the guy, because he was getting a ton of targets early in the year. And then they didn't feel as confident targeting him as much because he had too many drops, right? Yeah. And was too unreliable. So, and then I think even if you say Greathouse and Fields, I think could be a really, really great 1-2. Is that 1-2 matching a lot, some of what Ohio State has? No. Right. So, you can say it's better. That's what you would say. Yes, it's better. What they have for weapons is better, but this isn't, the same, what Mike Denbrock had at LSU when he had the, top offense in the country, because CJ Carr, Kenny Minchie, they're not Jane Daniels. Yeah. At least not yet. Right. Maybe they will be, but not yet. And none of the guys that they have are Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. Right. So, maybe we'll say 8 games in the season, we'll say, yeah, well, I mean, these guys have delivered and they've delivered past expectations and all that. And Raritan I think he's going to have a really big year. Maybe he has just a monster year and he becomes Mackey Award candidate, just if blah, blah, blah fall into place, then sure. But I think there's still questions. It's not it's not an open and shut deal to me at those positions.
We're projecting.
Yes.
We're projecting what Malachi Fields will do. We're projecting what Will Pauling will do. We're projecting what Eli Raritan's going to do. They haven't done it yet. So you can't put it to bed until you've seen it at Notre Dame. We were all projecting that Chris Mitchell was going to be this deep ball threat. Catch one deep ball. It just wasn't a part of his game, Bo Collins wasn't really a deep ball. I mean, they threw him goal balls every now and then, but not really, he caught one over the top against Navy. He caught one over the top against Stanford where they kind of blew a coverage, Beyond that, there just wasn't really much there. So you can't put it to bed until you see it in a Notre Dame uniform or Notre Dame offense. As much as we feel good about it, as much as I feel good about Malachi Fields and what we've heard, it has to be seen in a football game. And until it does, then you can't really put the concerns to bed. You can put the concerns of your media company to bed by going to VSR Media. Founded by Notre Dame football pregame host and Emmy award-winning anchor Vahid Sadrazadeh, VSR Media provides professional and cinematic video and photo. Whether you're looking for a collegiate or pro-level highlight reel, have a personal story to tell, or aiming to diversify and grow your business, VSR Media specializes in short and long-form video storytelling, social media management, and website design. VSR Media also captures professional headshots, senior and sports photos. Contact them at vsrmediacompany.com. Mention Irish Sports Daily to receive 20% off your first project. Visit them online or give them a call at 574-800-9106. Next question. Oh, wait. I didn't do this one. All right. From Irish One. Again. In 2025, which would you wager more on? In 12 regular season games, Love and Price have more than 2,000 rushing yards combined. Or B, in the 12 regular season games, Notre Dame top 3 wide receivers, no tight ends, have more than 2,000 receiving yards combined.
I mean, A, seems pretty obvious. But
yeah,
I mean, I definitely think B, there's a good chance. There's that could definitely happen. I think about 2018. I mean, this is with the extra playoff games. So it was 13 games and not 12. But Boykin, Claypool, Fink, the top 3 had over 2,000 combined.
And it was when they had Brandon Wimbush for 3 games, and they weren't throwing the ball.
Yeah, so I think I think you might see both this year. I think
that was going to be my next question. Like, what would you? How would you wager on them getting both?
I would if they gave odds for it, and I think we'd probably you get a decent line for it. I would take it. I would take it.
I'm just very curious to see what Great House is next year. I don't have a good feel for it. Like I think
he's going to be awesome.
What's awesome?
I think he's going to have 800 plus yards receiving, and be a guy that when they need him, like specifically when I'm talking about these first couple games of the season, I think that's going to be the guy they rely on. I think it's like, wow, we really need a drive here, and he's going to make, he's going to move the chains. He's going to do that kind of stuff. And a little bit of what, Freeman and Denbrock had talked about too, where they kind of know that, like, if you throw it to him, he's going to catch it. Like he's coming down with it. It's contested. It's not 50-50. He's going to get it most of the time. So, I think because of that too, the volume's going to go up. And I just think there's just some guys too. They're guys who are built for this because they've done it their whole lives. Like he was probably like doing it when in Pee Wee football. He was that dude, and he's just that guy.
Yeah, I mean, you talk a lot about being state champion and that sort of thing, and he was on the best Texas high school team, in the state when he was in high school senior year. Yeah, I don't love. Just for myself, I feel like it's very reactionary. He had a good semifinal. He had a good championship game. But like that was the other part to that is, so I have that in my mind where it's like, it's just kind of recency bias, But then there's also the idea that, well, that was really the only 2 times Notre Dame was chasing. Notre Dame never really had to chase the game in 2024. They were always winning. And therefore they were always kind of comfortable in what they were doing. And I think, especially when Great House started making a ton of plays in the Orange Bowl, that was when it was like, hey, we got to chase the game a little bit. We got to throw the ball. We got to start pushing the ball down the field because we're losing. And this obviously the same thing in the Ohio State game. And that's when he started to kind of blow up. And so I wonder if like that's going to be more of their kind of mindset the whole year in 2025. And if so, maybe those numbers could follow. So I have 2 minds of it. I don't want to jump on the bandwagon, but I also like the evidence kind of points in the direction of maybe he really did find something and he's ready to blow up. So we'll have to see. We'll have to keep track of that. Drew Brennan asks, across all these years playing ACC football teams, how come the University of Miami never plays Notre Dame and South Bend? I think the last time was in 2016. Was it supposed to be last year?
It was supposed to be last year.
Yeah.
The ACC let them bail out of it.
Yeah.
I don't know the reason for that. But I mean, I will say, because I looked in the future schedules, 2026 and 2028, they're playing in South Bend. So, I mean, they're making up for it. I think it's weird too how I don't know how that scheduling agreement works and how they've done it. It just seems like all over the map. And obviously now they want Miami to play Notre Dame more, and they want Clemson. And obviously Clemson's got the agreement with Notre Dame, but they're going to want Florida State to play Notre Dame more. So I have a feeling if the ACC is still existing, but beyond 2030, I have a feeling you're going to see more home and home stuff between the two programs.
Got it. All right. ND Fan 69. Over under 5.5 Notre Dame signees finish in the ISD Fab 50. Who are the guys who are most likely to be in contention to finish in the top 50? So this is obviously very up Jamie's alley here. Over under 5.5 Notre Dame players finish in the ISD Fab 50.
I mean, under. They're not going to have 6 guys, I don't think. Like, not based on who they have now and even who they add.
6 is a lot.
6 is a lot. I think I would say right now that certainly Dunham, Premer, locks. Those guys are in for me right now. O'Brien and Adams, good chance that they can be in it. And I think, could they get one more guy? Possibly not right now, but later on. I'm talking about like guys who like kind of blow up over the next, have the kind of senior seasons that you're thinking of, maybe like do really well at all-star games or whatever. Yeah, there's guys that I think will make big jumps, but I don't know how big, depending on, we'll see. But I'm thinking of like, it might sound crazy to people, but Frizel, like I'm thinking of him, Ewatade, Makio, Pouncey, those types of guys.
High ceilings.
Yeah.
We like Frizel. We love Frizel at the hit and hustle. Mason Butler asks, when an offensive lineman performs at elite camp and are beaten more often than not in the O-line versus D-line one-on-one drills, what is your level of concern for the potential of that prospect? Obviously, is it Felix Ojo?
Felix Ojo, yeah.
Felix Ojo and Gregory Patrick had a tough time recently at a camp in one-on-ones. So how do you evaluate this sort of thing, right? I assume in some ways it's concerning, but maybe with context it's not as concerning. It's kind of you kind of take it all into account, but where do you come out on this?
I personally don't care. I think like just kind of like you're watching film, you're looking for traits, right? You're like, does a guy have light feet? Maybe the guy has horrible hand placement and he just needs to work on it. Maybe he's a guy who he has all the physical tools, but he needs work on it. Maybe he's just a guy who needs to gain weight and he's getting like bull rushed in these situations, which any kind of bull rush when you're not wearing pads is like BS. Like you shouldn't be able to do it, but it's something that happens all the time. And I've just seen enough at these like big time camps where guys who end up being great players get abused and do really have struggles. I mean, I've also seen guys look bad and not be good too. So that's happened. Tristan Hodge was, a highly rated guy. He was at the opening and it was struggle town. He was having a really tough time against some stud defensive tackles, but they were in pads too. So it's a little bit different, but he was really struggling. But I mean, I've seen Robert Hainsey had a really tough time because he just wasn't physically there. I would have said 0 chance this guy's going to be ready to play early. You know, said he comes in, he's a 4-year starter, right? So, why don't overreact to that kind of stuff when that's happening. And then Nana Osafo-Mensah, I think anyone who followed his career knows that he was not a great pass rusher, didn't offer much in that area. Good player versus the run, solid player versus the run. Beat future first round picks Kenyon Green and Evan Neal in 101s. You know, I went back in my notes to look. I was like, did this happen? Yeah, it did happen. He beat these guys. So what does it mean? Probably a whole lot of nothing. You know, like it could, yes, it could equal to something, but in the end, what matters the most is like what these guys do in pads, and then also what they can become in pads, because you just want to see, even when it comes to pass rushers, there's just a lot of guys too who have all these great traits or whatever. They have no idea how to rush the passer because they just have never been shown. They've never really been coached. And I just have a feeling too, at one thing at the opening camps, they used to have really good coaches there. Like Nike would hire, like there'd be a bunch of ex-pros who work for Stud Sports who coach these guys, and they got real coaching all week. It was great actually. I'm going to guess at the Rivals 5-star camp, I don't think the coaching is that great. I'm going to guess they're not paying guys good money to come out there and do it. So they're just, you know, having some people organize it, and they're not telling Felix Ojo and Gregory Patrick after they just got whooped, hey, well, next time that guy does that to you, do this instead. Yeah. They're just going tweet, you know, just keep going. That's how they run it.
Every time I see these O-line, D-line one-on-ones, I'm like, this is so silly. Like, how do you do this without pads? Like, I get one-on-ones with DBs and wide receivers without pads because you technically don't need them. But for O-line, like, you need your pads.
Yeah.
It's like hand placement. Like, I feel like the D-line, like, they just like grab the jersey of the lineman and just like throw the jersey.
Yeah.
And I feel like you can't really do that if they got shoulder pads and a helmet and all these other things. Like, you know, and the offensive linemen, they can't do the same. Like, they can't grab anything and hold on to anything, or it just seems so, I don't know. Like what are we doing?
It to me too, when I'm thinking about just one-on-ones for wide receivers and DBs, a lot of that is not the best indication. I'm not saying you can see some stuff from it, but I've seen plenty of DBs just struggle, like just get killed in one-on-one session, and they weren't bad. It's just like they needed stuff like technique, and also guys are running like crazy, like and one mixtape routes that are just like stupid in some of these things too. And I even to like the 7-on-7 thing, you know, OT7. Hey, I'm not saying it. Joey O'Brien dominating there. That's great. Like, that's awesome. It's a good thing. But 7-on-7 ain't football. It's not the same. It is not the same, because I've seen guys dominate at 7-on-7, and it's a very different game. Or even if you look at Julius Jones Jr., he was a dominant player at that thing. And not to say I think he's really great prospect, but go like Matt Freeman and I were talking about this. If you watch some of the highlights from it, he's like walking through some of his routes because it's not real. Like you're running 200 routes in a day or whatever. Yeah. These guys are dog tired, and it's just like there's no pass rush, so they're just like finding a spot in the zone and sitting there and then making a catch. Like it's not the same. It's very, very different than real ball.
The coverages are different.
Yeah.
There's no like context to anything. You're just running routes. It's fun, right? Like, it's fun to go around, but it's
not saying you can't learn skills or get better at it.
Oh, for sure. Like, you're using your ability, right? Like, Jeremiah Smith's going to do a good job in 7-on-7, you know, like it's not like if you're playing well, it doesn't mean, it's like, oh, well, that guy's actually bad. Like, that's not what that means. It's just a different thing.
Yeah.
It's not football, like one-on-ones at the park for basketball, right? Or pick up basketball. It's just different. It's not the same thing when it's not as organized like that. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all we mean by that. Last question from ND Rumpus. What were the most impressive plays from last year on offense and defense? Over under on 200-yard rushing performances on total. Over under on total 100-yard rushing performances by running back next year. If two backs achieve it in the same game, that counts as two. So let's do the first one first. What were the most impressive plays from last year on offense and defense?
I mean, there are so many to pick from. It was tough, but I would say Christian Gray's picks versus USC and Penn State, both of them, I think are right up there.
Yeah.
The Christian Gray pick versus USC, the more you watch it, the more incredible that catch becomes, and just the adjustment to it, and then keeping his feet and then taking it back to the house. Like, that was an incredible play. I mean, you could pick a million Xavier Watts plays. I mean, there's that Burnham when he tipped the ball to himself and picked off that pitch was a great play. I think two other ones that stick out to me are KVA sack versus Louisville when he dipped under. It was an incredible play. And Drake Bowen's hustle play to force the fumble in the national championship game was incredible.
Yeah.
Or defense, on the defense.
Yeah. I think I think the play that Leonard Moore made against Louisville sticks out to me when he came back and forced the fumble there.
Yeah, another awesome one.
I think for me it's doubly incredible given the context of it, because like he wasn't supposed to start. He certainly wasn't supposed to start to the field. Like they didn't know he was start. So then he's out there in this huge game and the play's happening behind him, and for him to chase it down and then be like, it is first start in a college game. And it's like, I'm going to get there and I'm not just going to tackle the guy. I'm actually going to punch the ball out. Like that to me is like, that's an awareness that is just kind of like, that's special, man. Like you're in Notre Dame Stadium. Like I think we lose sight of the fact that like these are young players. I mean, this is a young 18-year-old making a savvy play like that helps the Notre Dame football program win a huge game. And, so the savvy that he had in that spot, I think the call, you said KVA. I remember that was a Louisville game as well. I remember the press box was like, there was like, whoa, like everyone was just like, wow, like as it happened. So that kind of stands out. I think the Christian Gray call is so good because he's playing the defense perfectly. He's taking a chance. Like his back is to the play. It's a very hard way to play corner. And he does it, and he wins inside, and he knows where the catch point is going to be, and to like make a diving interception. I mean, it's like the highest leverage moment you can have, and I know that the championship game was after that. And obviously that's a very high leverage moment, but like, that's kind of the nature of playing corner as well. It's like, sometimes you play it right and they do what you want and you make the biggest play of your life. And then another time it's like you're just kind of caught in a bad moment and you look bad, but that's kind of that's the perfect encapsulation of what it means to play corner and man off man in that situation. Trying to think of an offensive play. I mean, obviously like all of the Jeremiah Love stuff, like jumping over people.
I think it's in combination with Love. It's the hurdling Kamari Ramsey and then trucking him like right after. Who, by the way, Kamari Ramsey's going to be the best player on USC's defense this year. He was immediately praised. Was considered to be like, people thought he was going to be a day 2 pick. He came back to school, and like Jeremiah Love embarrassed him twice. Like. And he's a good player. It's not like he's a bad player. So that, I mean, definitely I'd say Riley Leonard, the run where he, beats Malachi Starks against Georgia. I mean, he had a lot of great runs. Obviously, I think that one, just the moment and who he was beating on that play, is the best one. The Great House touchdown where he like breaks two guys' ankles versus Penn State. The Price touchdown against Texas A&M. Torian York, maybe the most consistent tackler in the SEC, was like hugging air, just completely just whiffed bad. But it was all because of the great play that Price did. It wasn't like Torian York sucks. It was like, nah, Price can do that. He had the space, and then he took it to the house, and that was like at that point, Notre Dame was doing nothing on offense. They really needed it. Aeneas's Williams over the shoulder, catch on the fade ball. Also great throw by Riley Leonard there too. So I think those ones kind of stand out the most to me. Those were the ones that I had. But obviously there's a bunch of other ones.
Yeah. Matt Freeman on his vacation wanted to chime in. The ref getting hit by the UGA walk-on, incredible play. It was. I mean, it was a very key play in the game.
It was a huge play.
The ref getting hit. He wanted to point out.
ESPN, don't show that guy over and over again. Come on.
Jamar Chase running by the Ravens secondary for 264 yards and 3 touchdowns. Also impressive. I believe that was the game they lost. The Bengals.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure they lost that game. Yeah.
Congratulations to the Bengals in losing to the AFC North champions, the Baltimore Ravens. So congrats to them. Pat Sabkowski, Drake Bowen had some really impressive rundowns on defense. Yeah, Jamie mentioned the rundown for the strip sack or the strip fumble against Ohio State. I'll always remember, like, this one's kind of personal to me, where I've been to so many games in the Coliseum. And it's just like, the 92 game was obviously a very good game, but there were so many moments where it's like kind of bad moments, usually when I was in the Coliseum. And when Jeremiah Love hurdled him, Kamari Ramsey, listen, I've never heard the Coliseum buzz like that for an opponent, especially a Notre Dame opponent. Now, obviously, maybe it's happened before against other programs, but they were like, whoa, that's okay. Like, okay, that's legit. And it made me think in my mind, man, like Notre Dame has Reggie Bush, and that was kind of a cool thing because of, the history there. So that's where I come out on that. But that is the end of the questions. So thank you everyone for
we didn't do the 100-yard thing.
Oh, excuse me. I apologize. 100 yards. Over under. Total 100-yard rushing performances by running backs. It's too cheap. Okay. These are actually kind of hard to come by. Jeremiah Love didn't have that many 100-yard games last year.
They're less common than most people think.
Well, because of the they share, right? They share time. So over under, I'm gonna say over under 6.5.
I think that's okay. How many did he have last year? By the way, Jadarian Price had 1
right
last year against USC, which I think a lot of people would be surprised.
I think Jeremiah Love had exactly 100.
He had 99 versus USC, so that was
but
Jeremiah Love had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the season. So they had 6 combined last year. What did you say was the over?
I said 6.5.
I mean, I think it's going to be over 6.5 this year. They'll add a couple more on there, but just 8-ish. I think. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean,
you might get some random game too where they're winning in a blowout, and then Aeneas Williams gets over 100, or there's stuff like that happens too. If people remember, like Deion McIntosh, I think against like
North Carolina.
Yeah, right. Like that was like kind of out of nowhere, but it was I bet people don't remember that Oh gosh, I'm forgetting his name now. The running back that transferred to Pitt.
Sibo.
Sibo Flemister he had multiple 100-yard games in his career.
What was South Florida one?
By the way, 124 for Deion McIntosh in that game. Let's check out. So I think it was 2020 for
Ian Book's first start.
For Sibo, yeah, 127 versus South Florida. Oh, was that? Or maybe that was his only one? Was that his only one? Might have been his only one.
I know he had a bunch of like multiple touchdown games. Like he was like,
he had some other.
He was like their goal line back. He was like their goal line back, like randomly, like weird. Yeah. I mean, I wonder if they'll try to get Jeremiah Love more because of the Heisman stuff. You know, I do think they will be a little bit invested in trying to get him some buzz. So
yeah,
that's interesting to monitor as we go on through the season. So,
Audric Estime 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in his last season.
Yeah,
he had one of those was a 230-yard game, right? So
there will be another one. Yeah, if it's just Estime, like they'll get one from Price, at least one. It'll happen. So, all right. But those are the end of the questions. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you like what you heard, hit the like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. So whenever it is, we are going live. We'll get back to you on Thursday. We got some stuff going on. Jamie's got some stuff going on. Wife's on vacation. Jamie's by himself. A lot of stuff going on. So, and obviously we have 4th of July here as well. So, we'll let you know where things are. But in the meantime, hope you enjoyed this. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk to you soon. Keep hitting and hustling.